Hi, this is Darren with SimNation. I just want to do a quick video today. A couple of people had asked me about how to defend against the long passing attacks that people are seeing more and more in the online leagues, where people are just doing streaks and flies down the field using fast wide receivers and strong-armed quarterbacks. I recently had a game against one of those teams. At the time, BAYLOR was ranked number 2. They have a phenomenal coach in Huston. And in all transparency and fairness to Huston, he hasn't uploaded in a while. But I was able to kind of pick up on some trends and use those trends in order to build a defense that largely shut down probably what was the top rated passing attack, still maybe actually, in the league. Now, full caveat here, right? Uh, the offense you're going to see is one-dimensional. It is passing, it is long passing, but I was able to pick up on some trends and then build a playbook against it. So kind of let's just dive into it. Now, first word about Texas Tech. It's a team I took over at the beginning of the season. Really, I didn't take them over until after week 2. They are not a phenomenal team by any measure of the stick. They have a very bad offense, which I'm working on. A good running attack, bad passing attack, and their defense is suspect. So I was able to build a defense by moving people around, which is something I've talked about before. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that, but let's kind of take a look at what I did. So the first thing that I did is what I always do is I look at my opponent's last 2 or 3 games and I start looking for a trend. So I did that wrong. Give me a second here. Sorry about that. So I looked at the Nevada game, and what I'm looking for here is to kind of get a lay of the land. So he's not running the ball very often. Then when I go to play analysis, and by the way, you can see all of this within your team, and I actively encourage you to do it. So what I'm noticing almost right away is he doesn't really run the ball. So that plays into my favor. If I have to run a balanced attack trying to defend against the long pass and defend against like an outside running or balanced running attack, my defense isn't going to do all that well. But as I look at it, it's a lot of up the middle type running, some power sets it looks like, but fly, streak, streak, fly, seam. Okay, that's a short one. I'll need to think about that. And then quick screen. So really short passes or really long passes, it seems to be what he did in that game. Look at Kansas State and can kind of see the same thing here, right? Streaks, flies, quick screens. So he's either going really, really short or going really, really long, and he's going long most of the time. So I know this game pretty well, and what that means is when I was thinking about this, uh, I, I also looked at his roster, which you can see this. I can't tell who's in what position, like wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, but it can kind of get a sense of what his wide receivers are. So I know going in this game, I'm going to focus on taking the pass away and make him beat me with the run. So as I look at this, is his wide receivers are fast, but they're not really, really fast. So I can probably keep up with them, which is a good thing. He's got really good hands. They're skilled. Agility's okay, not great. Let's see his running back real quick. And looking at his running backs, same things. Quarterback, I know DRISCOLL has a huge arm. This guy's phenomenal. But his arm isn't that great. He is a very accurate. Kind of makes me wonder why he's not playing Marvin Brown. Marvin Brown would be probably a better quarterback for this offense than Thomas Driscoll is. Anyway, with a 78 arm, you shouldn't be bombing the ball. The only thing I think is helping him is his wide receivers are fast, and the guy's highly accurate, which when we look at Driscoll's stats, and we'll look at that real quick, it shows that, right? So if we go here, uh, I'm looking, oh, well, I may have killed some of his percentages, but he's got a lot of yards, but he's not really completing a lot of passes. I think I'm thinking of Feldor actually, who's the Oklahoma quarterback who I'm really high on. But anyways, going back to me. So what I know I got to do is I got to protect against the long pass. So how am I going to stage this? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my corners. Offense, I'm just going to run an offense that doesn't lose me the game, which means light on turnovers, run the ball quite often. But if you look at my team, I really have a couple people who can hang. So Gonzalez, Burke, um, and Mitchell. This isn't a great team, right? Um, but I'm going to do something strange because what I suspect is if I can bump them on the line, I can slow them down. So I'm going to play Frank Russo in that uh, starting cornerback position. Um, Mostly because what I detected early on was that the leading wide receiver is not his fastest wide receiver. So I'm going to put Russo there because Burke, Gonzalez, and Mitchell are going to have to cover the faster guys. But because he has such high agility and he has really good hands, I'm hoping I can pick off some passes. Plus, he's fairly strong, so he should be able to bump him off the route. My safeties, I'm going to have to go pretty much all in on my safeties as well. You can see I have D'Angelo starting. He's pretty fast. Probably not as fast as the wide receivers, but still fast. And then I've got Helm, who's also fast. So I've got a fairly decent matchup, but I'm not going to be able to play straight man-to-man because he'll eat me up. So what I did is I created a new playbook called Deep Zone. By the way, Starfinder, if you're watching this, I've already uploaded my stuff for your game. What you see here is not the offense or defense I'm running. But what I started to do is I started to think I need to play dime, I need to play quarter, and I need to play nickel. Those are traditionally your strongest passing defenses. They're also the ones that afford you deep coverage sets or deep zone sets. So what I went through is I went to a playbook, I created this playbook, and I essentially went through the plays and I looked at them and said, anytime I see this, this means man-to-man and they're playing back. Uh, and then what I was looking for is anything that clogged the middle and anything they were going to drop back into coverage. I don't want people trying to go straight up man-to-man with them because I'd lose that. So if you notice, everything I'm playing is back or it clogging the middle. The reason for clogging the middle, even though I'm running deep coverage, is if he throws over the middle, uh, and the fly has some patterns that will actually go over the middle, is I have a chance of getting someone to pick the ball off. Now, as you can see, again, I'm not really blitzing. I'm playing back in coverage. My strategy, I'll show you that in a second, did have blitzes, but it wasn't really going to blitz. So I'm rushing no more than 4 people at a time. So as you can see, the plays that work the best is deep press worked. That doesn't shock me. T-double works where I was covering 3. Blanket works. Again, these are plays are staples for me, so they don't shock me. Cover 3 Mike worked because, again, clog the middle, people in coverage, and then I have the safety playing back. And then, of course, same thing here. So this was the defense I created. So one of the things I would tell you when planning defense is look at what plays are playing on offense and look at it graphically, meaning that, and I'll show you this. You look at this and you see where people are going. Find the plays that they're running the most, and then graphically look at the defensive plays and find the ones where people are going to be in those spaces. So someone's going to be in that space. Where's an in? Do I have an in? I may not play an in with them. Like here, a check down, I want a linebacker roughly right about there. So I'll go find one and put a play in that does that because it'll block the middle and potentially result in an interception or a lot of drop passes. Same thing with quick slants, right? So that's what I did. And then when I called my plays, I did have blitzing, even though they weren't really going to blitz because I don't have blitzes in. But I played deep zone and kept my blitz rates pretty low. And when I went to game planning, I decided to play conservatively, which meant that they were only going to play the calls I was running. They weren't going to blitz. They weren't going to play aggressively in coverage. They were going to try to knock the ball down. instead of intercepted. And then, of course, I had pass rushing. Just critical for defense. Don't do this. Click that off. And never align your man coverage. There are cases where you might want to do it, but general, don't do it. And then, of course, I was focused on the long passing. Based on his defense, I picked up that he plays a lot of zone. So I told my offense, worry about the zone. Um, and then that's roughly it. So how'd we do? Well, offense didn't do all that great. That's not a shock. This offense isn't good, but the defense played pretty phenomenal. His low percentage, he was at 60 in the 60% before the game, but he only completed 19% of his passes. Now, when he did complete, he completed big. I did get some sacks off my four-man rush. I did move my defensive ends where I had more pass rushing type people in than run blocking. And I picked the ball off 3 times, including one I think that got returned for a touchdown. So in general, they did a very good job of offensive holding the ball up, and then defense and just like clogging that middle, clogging the outsides, playing back, keeping everything in front of him, so that way he couldn't score easily. And the result is a team that is pretty sucky beat a top 5 team. And it was entirely because I was able to pick up on his trends and see that he was entirely throwing flies and streaks, and I was able to build a defense where I would play back and be able to defeat him. So this week I play Starfinder with Brigham Young. It's going to be a completely different game. Starfinder plays differently, but this gave me a good idea of how I may potentially play Oklahoma and Steve. Steve does a lot of the same things. The problem with Oklahoma is he also can run the ball. So I'm not going to be able to play back like I did against Huston with BAYLOR. I'm going to have to come up with something that allows me to block his run while still focusing on the long passing game. But hopefully you find this useful. The biggest thing I can tell you about defense is make sure you're looking at the games before and looking at that play analysis. See what they're calling, and then go look up those plays on offense and see what's happening graphically on the screen, and then find a defense that really works graphically against that. And what I mean by graphically is you'll be able to see where people are going, and you'll be able to see where people are, and then clog wherever those receivers are going or where those running backs are going. You're going to have a much better chance of stopping them. So this is Darren from SimNation. Just wanted to do this quick video. Hopefully you find it valuable. If you do, of course, hit a like. We have a lot of great teams still open. If you're interested, it's a great league. We're off to a great start. I'm going to do a recap video probably tomorrow. But I just want to do this one before the next week ran and I lost the ability to see this. So have a great day.